$8,241 and 53 attorneys at Morrison and Green. 47 calls to Hayes Pharmaceuticals. 11 resignation letters Rebecca's father made her practice signing when she was 16 and none of it worked. The toaster still didn't. Kenneth had been staring at it for 6 minutes because Melissa timed him on the microwave clock, and the burnt smell meant opening windows. And Rebecca was still asleep upstairs in the room that wasn't spare anymore. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. The third time this morning. He dried his hands. Flour caked under 2 fingernails. The calendar showed October. Thanksgiving was Thursday or Friday. Something like that. Melissa's backpack by the door. Unzipped. Wrong. Outside. A car door slammed. Not Mrs. O'Brien's Buick. Too heavy. The kind of sound expensive cars make when someone's angry. His hand stopped halfway to the phone. The slap echoed. Not just through Gate B17 at O'Hare International. Through Rebecca Hayes' entire carefully constructed 30 years of existence. She hit the marble floor hard. Knees first. Then palms. The impact jarred through her wrists like electricity. Blood bloomed hot against her bottom lip where his ring had caught flesh. The metallic taste filled her mouth. Around her, phones rose like a forest of accusing eyes. Recording. Capturing. Immortalizing this exact moment when Rebecca Hayes, CEO of Hayes Pharmaceuticals, Forbes 30 Under 30, the woman who'd never let anyone see her sweat, crumpled like wet paper, please. The word scraped out of her throat. Raw. Desperate. Don't hit me. I'm already hurt. Lawrence Brennan stood over her, chief financial officer, her father's oldest friend, the man who'd walked her down the aisle at her father's funeral 6 months ago, while cameras flashed and board members whispered. Now his face was purple with rage. You think you can just walk away from this deal? His voice boomed across the terminal. Gate agents froze mid-announcement. Travelers pressed against the windows of the Starbucks across the concourse. A child started crying somewhere to Rebecca's left. Nobody moved to help because they knew who she was. The woman who'd raised insulin prices 40% in a single quarter. The CEO who'd laid off 3,000 employees right before Christmas. Ice Queen of Big Pharma. Maybe she deserved this. Lawrence's hand rose again. Rebecca's arms came up instinctively to shield her face. The bruise on her left cheekbone throbbed. Souvenir from their conversation in the parking garage an hour earlier, when she'd told him no for the first time in her life. No. She wouldn't sign the merger papers. No. She wouldn't marry Jonathan Harrison from the Boston Harrison family to secure the deal. No. She wouldn't sacrifice her autonomy to save a company her father had built on the backs of sick people who couldn't afford their medications, which was when Lawrence had slapped her the first time. And followed her here, to Gate B17, where her escape plan, one-way ticket to nowhere, anywhere, just away, died the moment his fingers closed around her wrist and yanked her out of the security line. The hand descended toward her face again, then stopped mid-arc because someone caught Lawrence's wrist. Let her go. The voice came from Rebecca's right. Calm, not loud. But somehow it cut through the chaos like a blade through butter. Every head in the terminal turned. Rebecca looked up through the tangle of her hair. A man stood beside Lawrence. Not tall, maybe 5'11", but solid in a way that suggested coiled strength rather than gym muscle. Flannel shirt worn soft from washing. Jeans with actual dirt on the knees. Work boots that had seen actual work. Rough hands that held Lawrence's wrist with the kind of gentle firmness you'd use on a child having a tantrum. Gray-green eyes that assessed the situation with the efficiency of someone who'd made life-or-death decisions before breakfast. And beside him, a little girl, maybe 6 years old. Pink unicorn backpack nearly as big as she was. Light-up sneakers that blinked red with every anxious shuffle. Dark ponytail bouncing as she craned her neck to see what the commotion was about. Daddy, why is that man hurting that lady? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Lawrence yanked his arm back, spun to face this interruption. His $1,000 suit suddenly looked ridiculous next to the stranger's worn flannel. This is a private matter. Move along. The man didn't move. Doesn't look private to me. Looks like assault. Lawrence's face went from purple to crimson. Do you know who I am? I could buy and sell you 1,000 times over, maybe. The stranger took a step closer. Not aggressive, just present. The kind of movement that suggested he'd learned long ago that true strength never needed to announce itself. But you're going to let her go anyway. Lawrence laughed. Sharp. Bitter, or what? You'll call security. They work for people like us, not people like you. The stranger's expression didn't change. No, I won't call anyone. Another step forward. Close enough now that Rebecca could smell sawdust and coffee on him. Close enough that she saw the calluses on his hands from years of manual labor. Close enough that Lawrence noticed something in those gray-green eyes that made him pause. You're going to let her go because it's the right thing to do, and because your hand is shaking. Lawrence glanced down at his own hand. The one still extended toward Rebecca, trembling. You're scared. Maybe of losing control. Maybe of what happens if this deal falls through. But whatever it is, hurting her won't fix it. You don't understand anything. Lawrence's voice had lost some of its bluster. The crowd pressed closer, phones still recording. The moment stretched taut as a wire. I don't need to understand. I just need you to let her go. For 3 heartbeats, nobody moved. Then Lawrence shoved Rebecca forward with enough force that she stumbled. The stranger caught her before she hit the ground, steadied her with surprising gentleness. His hands found her elbows. Firm but careful. This isn't over, Rebecca. Lawrence's voice dripped venom. The board meets tomorrow. If you're not there, if you don't agree to the terms, I'll destroy everything your father built. Everything. He stormed off toward the American Airlines first-class lounge. The crowd began to disperse. Their phones lowered. The show over. Several people muttered about corporate drama and rich people problems as they shuffled back to their own gates. Rebecca stood there in the stranger's steadying grip, trembling. The adrenaline finally catching up with her body. Her legs refused to cooperate. Ma'am, are you okay? She looked up at him. Really looked this time. Mid-30s probably. Tired eyes that had seen things. Stubble on his jaw that suggested he'd been traveling. And an expression of genuine concern that felt alien after 6 months of board members looking at her like a quarterly earnings report. I need to. Daddy, she's hurt. The little girl peered around her father's leg. Big brown eyes wide with worry. She clutched a stuffed elephant that had seen better days. She needs a band-aid. I have some in my backpack. They have unicorns on them. Despite everything. The pain, the humiliation, the fear. Rebecca almost smiled. When was the last time anyone had offered her something so simple? So kind? Without wanting anything in return? Thank you. The words came out as a whisper. The man still holding her steady, glanced around the terminal. Is there someone I can call for you? Family? Friends? The question hit harder than Lawrence's fists. Family, her father was dead. Her mother had died when Rebecca was 12. Her stepbrother Stephen would probably side with Lawrence, because that's what made financial sense. Friends. She'd sacrificed every relationship at the altar of Hayes Pharmaceuticals. Traded birthday parties for board meetings, coffee dates for conference calls. Human connection for market share. I don't. She swayed on her feet. The man's grip tightened just enough to keep her upright. Okay, let's get you seated at least. He guided her to a nearby bench. The little girl trailed behind like a devoted shadow. Immediately dropped her unicorn backpack and began rummaging through it with surgical precision. I also have juice boxes. Apple or fruit punch. Juice helps when you're sad. That's what Daddy says. The man sat beside Rebecca, careful to maintain respectful distance, but close enough to catch her if she fainted, which seemed increasingly likely as the world tilted sideways. I'm Kenneth. Kenneth Dalton. That's Melissa. Rebecca. She didn't add the Hayes. Didn't add the CEO. Didn't add any of the titles that usually followed her name like a brand. Right now she was just Rebecca, sitting on a bench with a stranger and his daughter, wondering how her life had come to this. That man. Is he going to come back? Kenneth's voice was careful, not prying. Just assessing threat levels. Probably. She had touched her ribs gingerly, where Lawrence had shoved her against her car earlier. Winced. He needs me to sign papers. It's complicated, it always is. Kenneth watched as Melissa produced a juice box and a handful of unicorn band-aids with the gravity of a surgeon preparing for operation. But complicated doesn't give him the right to hurt you. You don't understand. I've done things. Made decisions. Rebecca's voice broke. Maybe I deserve. No, the word was firm. Final. Kenneth leaned forward slightly. I don't care what you've done. Nobody deserves that. Melissa approached with her supplies, her little face scrunched in concentration. Where does it hurt most? Everywhere. Rebecca admitted it before she could stop herself. Then caught herself. I know what everywhere hurts feels like. Melissa's voice was solemn, Far too old for 6 years. When Mommy went to heaven, everything hurt for a long time. But Daddy said that's okay because it means we loved really big. Kenneth's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Rebecca saw pain flash across his face. Then gentle acceptance. Missy, it's okay, Daddy. The lady needs to know. Melissa carefully placed a unicorn band-aid on Rebecca's hand where the skin had scraped against the floor. See? Unicorns make everything better. That's just science, despite everything. The pain, the humiliation, the fear of what tomorrow would bring. Rebecca found herself laughing. A broken sound, half sob, but real. You know what? Kenneth stood. Extended his hand to help her up. Our flight's been delayed another 2 hours. There's a restaurant in Terminal C. Nothing fancy, but they make good soup. When's the last time you ate? Rebecca tried to remember. Yesterday. The day before. She'd been running on coffee and anxiety for so long she'd forgotten what hunger felt like. I couldn't impose. You're not imposing. We're offering. Kenneth's smile was small but genuine. Besides, Missy's been begging for mac and cheese all day, and I never could say no to mac and cheese. It's the best mac and cheese. They put breadcrumbs on top. Fancy breadcrumbs. Melissa bounced on her light-up shoes. Rebecca looked at the offered hand, calloused. Steady. Attached to a man who'd stood up for her when no one else would. Then at Melissa, still clutching her unicorn band-aids like precious treasure, ready to heal the whole world one scrape at a time. Her phone buzzed. 12 missed calls from board members. 20 texts from Lawrence. 3 voicemails from Stephen, probably threatening her with legal action if she didn't show up tomorrow. She turned the phone off. Okay. Mac and cheese sounds good. They made an odd trio walking through O'Hare. A construction worker in flannel. A battered CEO in designer clothes that had cost more than most people's monthly rent. And a 6-year-old in light-up shoes, leading the way like a tiny general. People stared. Some recognized Rebecca from the earlier scene. Others just saw the incongruity. But Kenneth's presence created a buffer around them. A zone of protection that no one dared breach. The restaurant was nothing special. Airport chain, harsh lighting, overpriced food. But when they sat down and Melissa immediately began coloring on her placemat with crayons she'd produced from her bottomless backpack, something in Rebecca's chest loosened. So, you running to something or from something? Kenneth's question was gentle. Not accusatory. Just curious, both. Neither. Rebecca wrapped her hands around her water glass, seeking its coolness. I was supposed to fly to Boston. There's a merger, a marriage arrangement. My father set it up before he died. If I don't go through with it, I lose everything. And if you do go through with it, I lose myself. The words came out before she could stop them. Kenneth nodded as if this made perfect sense. Yeah, that's a tough one. You're not going to tell me what to do? Give me advice? Rebecca heard the edge in her own voice. The defensive wall going up. Kenneth smiled slightly. Lady, I'm a single dad who works construction. I'm not qualified to give advice to anyone. But I know what it's like to have everything you thought mattered disappear. Sometimes it's the best thing that can happen. Daddy was in the army. Melissa announced this without looking up from her coloring. He was a hero, but he doesn't like to talk about it. Now he builds houses for families that don't have any. He's still a hero, just a different kind, Missy. We talked about this. It's true, Melissa protested. Mrs. Patterson said so. And Mr. Kim, and that man at the grocery store who cried when you fixed his roof for free. Kenneth's ears reddened. Rebecca studied him with new eyes. The quiet confidence. The way he'd assessed Lawrence's weakness. The protective instinct that had sent him forward when everyone else stepped back. You were military? Army. Did my time. Now I do this, he gestured vaguely. It's simpler. Their food arrived. Melissa dove into her mac and cheese with enthusiasm that only a 6-year-old could muster. Rebecca took a spoonful of chicken noodle soup and nearly moaned. When had simple food tasted so good? Can I ask you something? She set down her spoon. Why did you help me? Really? Kenneth considered this. Took a bite of his burger. Missy asked why that man was hurting you. What was I supposed to tell her? That sometimes people hurt each other and we just watch. That money or power makes it okay? She's going to grow up in this world. I want her to know that someone will always stand up, even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's not their problem. But you didn't know anything about me. I could be. I'm not a good person, Kenneth. The things I've done for my company. Are you hurting anyone right now? Kenneth interrupted. What? Right now. In this moment. Are you hurting anyone? No, but Then, right now you're good enough for mac and cheese. Tomorrow you can go back to being whoever you think you are. Tonight you're just someone who needed help. Melissa looked up from her placemat, which now featured an elaborate unicorn kingdom. Daddy says everyone gets a fresh start every day, like how the sun comes up new. You can be anybody when the sun comes up. Smart Daddy. Rebecca's voice was soft, the smartest. He can fix anything. Houses, cars, toys. Maybe he can fix your sad too, Missy. That's not. Kenneth started. I'm trying. It just takes time. Daddy was really sad when Mommy went to heaven. But I drew him pictures every day, and we planted flowers, and we talked to Mommy at night before bed. Now he's still sad sometimes, but it's a softer sad. Like a bruise that's healing. Rebecca's eyes burned with unexpected tears. This child, this innocent soul who'd lost her mother, trying to comfort a stranger. When had anyone last shown her such pure kindness? They fell into comfortable conversation. The kind that happens when strangers realize they're not really strangers at all. Just people who hadn't met yet. Kenneth told her about his construction company. Small but growing, specializing in affordable housing and renovation for low-income families. Rebecca found herself sharing stories from before. Before the CEO title. Before the pressure. Before she'd forgotten who she used to be. I wanted to be a teacher. Elementary school. I loved kids. Loved the idea of shaping minds. Making a difference. But my father said teachers don't change the world. CEOs do. He was wrong. Kenneth said it simply. Not to hurt. Just stating fact, teachers changed my world. Mrs. Patterson, 5th grade. Told me I was smart enough for college even though my dad said college was for rich kids. She's the reason I got into West Point. But you didn't stay military? Sarah got sick right after my second deployment. Choices had to be made. I chose her. Chose Missy. Never regretted it. The restaurant was starting to empty. Late hour and delayed flights creating unusual calm in the terminal. Melissa had progressed from coloring to building towers with sugar packets. Her tongue stuck out in concentration. What happened? If you don't mind, the question was quiet. Directed at Kenneth, cancer. 3 years ago, Missy was 3. Old enough to remember, young enough to adapt. Kids are resilient like that. Kenneth's voice was matter of fact. But Rebecca heard the ocean of grief underneath. I'm sorry. Me too. But Sarah, my wife, she wouldn't want us stuck in the sorry. She was all about moving forward. Finding the next good thing. He watched Melissa return to her coloring. Some days are harder than others. And you never remarried? Found someone else? Rebecca wasn't sure why she asked. Curiosity maybe, or the desperate need to understand how people survived losing everything. Kenneth shrugged. Been focused on Missy. Being enough for her. Work keeps me busy. She's got activities. Soccer, art class. A piano teacher who claims she has natural talent. But I think just likes my check clearing every month. Daddy? Melissa protested. Mrs. Chen says I have promise. You have something. I'm not sure it's musical. The airport PA system crackled. Their flight was boarding. That's us. Kenneth checked his phone, but he hesitated. Pulled out his phone. Unlocked it. Look, I know this is weird, but take my number, in case you need something. Someone. Whatever. Rebecca stared at the offered phone. When did people just give their numbers anymore? No business card. No networking app. Just a simple gesture of human connection. She entered her number. Then his into her phone. Thank you. For everything. I don't know how to repay. You don't. That's not how it works. You pass it on sometime. When you see someone who needs help, you help. That's the deal. Daddy, can she come with us? Melissa asked suddenly. She doesn't have anywhere to go, Missy. She has a life here, actually. Rebecca heard herself say it before her brain caught up. I don't. Not really. I have a company that's about to be taken from me. An apartment I barely see. And a family that only cares about my net worth, she stood. The decision crystallizing with sudden clarity. I don't suppose you know any good hotels near where you live? I think I need to not be here for a while. Kenneth and Melissa exchanged looks. Some silent communication passing between father and daughter. Well, Chicago's got plenty of hotels. But it's late. You're hurt. Kenneth paused, seemed to wrestle with something. We have a spare room. It's nothing fancy. Just a converted office. But it's clean and safe. You could stay tonight. Figure out your next move when the sun's up, and everything doesn't feel so overwhelming. I couldn't. Yes, Melissa interrupted. Please say yes. I'll show you my room and my drawings and my fish. His name is Mr. Bubbles, but he doesn't blow bubbles, which I think is false advertising. Kenneth laughed from somewhere deep in his chest, a sound that suggested he didn't do it often enough. She makes a compelling case. Rebecca looked at these two strangers who'd shown her more kindness in 2 hours than anyone had in years. The smart thing would be to say no. Check into a hotel, face tomorrow's board meeting. Salvage what she could of her empire. But when had the smart thing ever made her happy? Okay. If you're sure, we're sure, Melissa said firmly. Daddy, tell her we're sure, Kenneth echoed, and his smile was warm. Genuine, come on, let's go home. They walked to their gate together, Melissa between them, chattering about everything and nothing. Other passengers glanced at them curiously. The well-dressed woman with the bruised face, the working man with gentle eyes, the child who seemed to think she'd just won the lottery by gaining a new friend. As they boarded the plane to Chicago, Rebecca buzzed one more time in her purse. She pulled it out, saw Lawrence's name, and without hesitation turned it completely off. Not airplane mode. Off, window or aisle? Kenneth asked, checking their boarding passes. I don't know. Rebecca realized she hadn't flown commercial in 5 years. The company jet was always waiting. Window. You need to seat the clouds. Daddy says Mommy lives in the clouds now. So they must be pretty special. Melissa's logic was irrefutable. As Rebecca settled into the middle seat, Melissa at the window, Kenneth on the aisle, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Protected. Safe. Part of something. Even if that something was temporary and made no sense. The plane lifted off into the night sky, leaving behind the terminal where Rebecca Hayes, the CEO, had fallen to her knees. But the woman sitting between Kenneth and Melissa, watching the lights of the city fade below, wasn't really that CEO anymore. She was just Rebecca. And maybe that was enough. Melissa reached over and took her hand as the plane climbed higher. Don't worry, Daddy and I are really good at taking care of people. We practiced on each other, Kenneth heard, reached across to squeeze Rebecca's other hand briefly. She's right. We're pretty good at it. Outside the window, the clouds parted to reveal a sea of stars. And Rebecca thought that maybe there was more than one way to be powerful in this world. Maybe real power wasn't in boardrooms or bank accounts, but in the choice to help, to stand up, to offer mac and cheese to someone who needed it. Her empire might crumble tomorrow. Lawrence might destroy everything her father built, but tonight she was flying towards something new. Something unnamed and uncertain, but absolutely real. Thank you, she whispered to both of them. For what? Melissa asked. For reminding me who I could be. The little girl smiled, squeezed her hand tighter. Oh, that's easy. You could be anybody. Daddy says so. The sun comes up new every day. As the plane carried them through darkness toward a city where no one knew she was coming. Where no board meeting awaited, where a spare room in a modest home offered more promise than any corporate merger. Rebecca closed her eyes and did the breathing thing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and maybe, just maybe, she could breathe. The rain started just as they landed in Chicago. Steady drumming against the aircraft windows that made Melissa press her nose to the glass. The clouds followed us down, she announced with 6-year-old certainty. Rebecca watched the child's wonder and felt something crack inside her chest. Some walls she'd built so carefully over the years beginning to crumble. Kenneth gathered their things with practiced efficiency, helping Melissa with her unicorn backpack while keeping a protective eye on Rebecca. She moved stiffly, her ribs protesting every breath. But she refused to show weakness. Old habits died hard. Even when your world was collapsing, my truck's in long-term parking. It's nothing fancy, but it runs. Nothing fancy turned out to be a Ford F-150, with Melissa's car seat in the back and coffee cups in every holder. The dashboard was cluttered with parking receipts, Melissa's artwork, and a small framed photo of a woman with Melissa's same brown eyes and Kenneth's smile, Sarah, still riding with them. Even 3 years later, sorry about the mess. We drove straight to the airport from Denver. My mom's funeral was. Kenneth paused, cleared his throat. Complicated. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were dealing with loss, too. Rebecca settled into the worn leather seat. Daddy's mom was mean. Melissa piped up from her car seat. She said I reminded her of Mommy, and that made her sad. Which doesn't make sense because Mommy should make people happy. Not sad, Missy. We talked about this. It's true, she said. Mommy trapped you with a baby and that's why you left the army. But that's stupid because I wasn't even born when you left. I came after. Which means I'm not a trap. I'm a surprise. Like finding money in your pocket. Kenneth's hands tightened on the steering wheel as he navigated out of the parking garage. My mother had opinions about everything. Sarah being different was just one of many things she disapproved of. Rebecca thought of her own father. His endless disapproval, his constant push for more, better, bigger. Families were complicated. The best ones are, Kenneth agreed. Pulling onto the rain-slicked highway, the worst ones are just mean. They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Melissa humming something tuneless in the back. The wipers beating steady rhythm. Rebecca watched the city lights blur past. Each one representing a life, a story. A world she'd never bothered to notice from her corner office high above the streets. We're almost home. Kenneth took an exit into a neighborhood that had seen better days. Small houses crowded together, some well-maintained. Others showing the wear of hard times. It's not much, but it's perfect, Rebecca interrupted, surprised by her own vehemence. It's real. Kenneth's house sat on a corner lot. Two-story craftsman that had obviously been restored with love and skill. The porch light was on, casting warm glow over rain-wet steps. Window boxes held remnants of summer flowers. A child's bicycle leaned against the railing. I've been fixing it up slowly. Bought it as a foreclosure 3 years ago, right after Sarah died. Needed something to do with my hands. Daddy built my whole room, with shelves that look like trees and a reading nook that's like a cave but not scary. He says building things helps his inside feel less broken. Kenneth's ears reddened. Missy has no filter. No, she has no pretense. There's a difference. They hurried through the rain to the front door. Kenneth carrying a sleeping Melissa, who'd finally succumbed to the late hour. Inside, the house was exactly what Rebecca expected, and nothing like it at the same time. Clean, but lived in. Organized, but clearly home to a child. The walls were covered with Melissa's artwork, framed like masterpieces. Books overflowed from shelves Kenneth had obviously built himself. A piano sat in the corner. Sheet music scattered on the bench. Let me put her to bed. Make yourself at home. Kitchen's through there if you need water or anything. Rebecca wandered into the kitchen while Kenneth carried Melissa upstairs, taking in the magnets on the refrigerator, holding up school papers and appointment reminders. A calendar on the wall filled with Kenneth's neat handwriting. Soccer practice. Piano lessons. School play rehearsal. The life of a single parent laid out in blue ink. Her phone, still in her purse, felt like a bomb waiting to explode. She should turn it on, face the messages, deal with the crisis. But standing in this warm kitchen with its mismatched chairs and coffee-stained counters, she couldn't bring herself to let that world back in yet. She went down easy. Usually takes 3 stories and a negotiation about breakfast. Kenneth returned, moving to the cabinet to pull out 2 mugs. You must have worn her out with all that excitement. Tea? Coffee? Something stronger? I think I have a bottle of whiskey somewhere. That someone gave me after Sarah's funeral. Tea sounds perfect. They stood in comfortable silence while the water boiled, the rain creating a cocoon around the little house. Rebecca found herself studying Kenneth when he wasn't looking. The way his hands moved with careful precision. The slight stoop to his shoulders that spoke of carrying too much for too long. The gentleness that radiated from him despite his obvious strength. Can I ask you something? She accepted the mug of chamomile tea he handed her. Sure. Why did you really help me? The truth this time. Kenneth leaned against the counter, considering. You reminded me of Sarah. Not physically. But the day she got her diagnosis, she had this look. Like the world had just shifted under her feet and she didn't know how to stand anymore. You had that same look. What did you do? When she got the diagnosis, held her, cried with her. Then we made a plan. 1 day at a time, 1 hour if necessary. We had 2 years, which was more than they originally gave us. 2 years of Missy growing, of memories made, of learning that time isn't about quantity. Rebecca's hands tightened around the warm mug. My father died 6 months ago. Heart attack at his desk. He was in the middle of a merger negotiation. They found him with his pen still in his hand. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I am. Is that terrible? He was my father, but he was also, he made me into something I'm not sure I want to be anymore. People are allowed to be complicated. Your feelings about them are allowed to be complicated too. The rain intensified, hammering against the windows. Somewhere in the house a clock ticked steadily. Rebecca realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd been in a space this quiet, this peaceful. The spare room's upstairs. I can show you. His phone rang. cutting him off. He frowned at the screen. "Unknown number. Don't answer it," Rebecca said quickly. "It might be." But Kenneth had already accepted the call. "Hello?" Even from across the kitchen, Rebecca could hear Lawrence's voice. Sharp, demanding, making her blood run cold. "Mr. Dalton, I presume." The Good Samaritan from the airport. Kenneth's expression hardened. "How did you get this number?" "I have resources you couldn't imagine. I know you have Rebecca with you. I know you live at 4-27 Maple Street. I know you have a daughter named Melissa who attends Riverside Elementary." The threat was implicit but clear as crystal. Kenneth's jaw clenched, but his voice remained calm. "What do you want?" "I want to speak to Rebecca." Now, Kenneth looked at her, eyebrow raised in question. She shook her head violently, but then held out her hand for the phone. "Running wouldn't solve this. Lawrence." Her voice was steadier than she felt. "Have you lost your mind? Do you have any idea what you're doing?" "The board is in emergency session. The Harrison family is threatening to pull out entirely. 20,000 jobs, Rebecca. 20,000 people will lose their livelihoods if this deal falls through. That's not my responsibility anymore. Not your." Lawrence's voice rose to near shriek. "Your father built this company. You have an obligation. My father is dead, and his obligations died with him." The words felt like freedom, terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "You selfish. You'd throw it all away for what? Some misguided rebellion? A mental breakdown?" Kenneth moved closer, not touching, but present, a solid wall of support. Rebecca drew strength from his proximity. "I'm throwing it away for my life. For the chance to be something more than a signature on contracts I don't believe in. You think you can just walk away? I have documents with your signature. Preliminary agreements. The board can sue you into oblivion, then let them." Silence on the other end. Then Lawrence's voice. "Low and dangerous, I'm coming to Chicago. We're going to settle this face to face. I won't see you, you will. Because if you don't, I'll make sure your new friend loses everything. His construction business, his house, maybe even his precious daughter. Foster care can be so traumatic for children, don't you think?" The line went dead. Rebecca stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear. Kenneth gently took it from her hand. "He can't," she started. "He can try." Kenneth said calmly. "Men like him always think they can buy or threaten their way into anything. But Rebecca, I need you to understand something. You don't have to face him. You don't owe him or anyone else a confrontation. But what he said about Melissa, about your business, I've faced worse threats from better men. In Afghanistan, they threatened my unit's families to try to break us. You know what we learned? Bullies only have the power you give them. This is different. Lawrence has resources, lawyers, connections, and I have something he doesn't." Kenneth's smile was slight but genuine. Nothing left to lose except what really matters. "My business, I can rebuild. My house, it's just walls and a roof. But Missy, my integrity, those aren't for sale or subject to negotiation." Rebecca sank into one of the kitchen chairs, suddenly exhausted. "I shouldn't have come here. I've put you both in danger. No. You've given us a chance to do something that matters." Missy learned tonight that standing up for someone isn't just a concept. It's an action. That's worth any risk. "You don't even know me. I could be lying about everything, are you?" "No, but then we're good." He stood, moving to a drawer and pulling out a first aid kit. "Now let me look at those ribs. I've got some training from my army days. I'm fine. You've been holding your left side since we got here. And you wince every time you take a deep breath. That's not fine." She wanted to protest, to maintain the walls of propriety and distance. But she was so tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of being alone. Tired of pretending everything was under control when it hadn't been for months. "Okay." The word came out as a whisper. Kenneth's hands were gentle as he helped her out of her suit jacket, revealing the bruises that had bloomed across her ribs like purple flowers. He hissed through his teeth. "This needs an X-ray. You could have broken ribs. They're just bruised." "I've had worse." Kenneth's hands stilled. From him, from life. The physical bruises are new. The other kind, those I've been collecting for years. He carefully applied arnica cream to the worst of the bruising. His touch clinical but caring. Sarah used to say that emotional bruises needed the most tending. They're the ones that don't heal on their own. How did she heal them? Time. Love. Purpose beyond herself. He helped her back into her jacket. She volunteered at a women's shelter before she got too sick. Said it reminded her that everyone was fighting something. I've never volunteered for anything. Never had time. You have time now. The simple statement hit her like revelation. She did have time now, at this moment in her life. No meetings tomorrow. No calls to return. No deals to close. The freedom was overwhelming and exhilarating in equal measure. A small voice from the doorway made them both turn. Are you fixing her? Melissa stood there in dinosaur pajamas, rubbing sleepy eyes. Hey, sweet pea, you should be asleep, I heard voices. Angry voices. Melissa padded over to Rebecca. Was it the mean man from the airport? Yes. But it's okay. Your daddy scared him away, Rebecca said. Seeing no point in lying, Daddy's good at scaring away bad things. He checks my closet every night and tells the monsters to go away. They always listen. Maybe he can teach me that trick, Rebecca said, smoothing Melissa's hair. It's easy. You just have to use your strong voice and mean it. Monsters can tell if you don't mean it. All right, monster fighter. Back to bed. Kenneth lifted Melissa from Rebecca's lap. Can Miss Rebecca tuck me in too? Kenneth looked at Rebecca questioningly. She nodded. Standing carefully, Melissa's room was exactly as described. A masterpiece of a father's love. The shelves really did look like trees, complete with carved leaves and hidden birds. The reading nook was a cozy cave with fairy lights strung along the opening. Every surface held treasures, rocks, feathers, broken jewelry, transformed into fairy crowns. This is my mommy. Melissa showed Rebecca a photo by her bed. The woman in the picture was radiant. Blonde hair, bright smile. Arms wrapped around a younger Melissa. Daddy says I have her smile and her stubborn. Her stubborn? Yeah. When I don't want to do something, I get really stubborn. Like Mommy did when the doctor said she should stop working. She kept going until she couldn't anymore because she said kids needed her. What did she do? She was a nurse. For kids. Daddy says she made scared kids brave. Kenneth tucked the blankets around Melissa with ease born of 3 years of solo parenting. Story or song? Song. The one about the blackbird. Kenneth sat on the edge of the bed and began to sing softly. His voice rough but tender. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. Rebecca stood in the doorway watching this nightly ritual and felt her heart crack wide open. This was wealth. This was power. This small room with its handmade wonders. This child with her absolute trust. This man with his quiet strength. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Without looking, she knew it was Lawrence, or the board, or Stephen, or any of the dozen people who thought they owned pieces of her. She left it unanswered. When Melissa was asleep, Kenneth showed Rebecca to the spare room. Simple but clean. With a quilt that looked handmade and a small window overlooking the backyard. Sarah's mother made that quilt. Sends one every Christmas. I think it's her way of staying connected to Missy. It's beautiful. There are towels in the bathroom. And I'll find you something to sleep in. Sarah's clothes are still. He paused. I kept them. I know that's probably weird, but it's not weird. It's love. Kenneth looked at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Yeah. It is, he returned with soft t-shirt and pajama pants. They might be a bit small, but they're comfortable. After he left, Rebecca changed slowly, her ribs protesting. Sarah's clothes smelled faintly of lavender and something else. Something indefinable but comforting. She sat on the bed, looking around the small room that was now temporarily hers. Her phone, still off. The world could wait until morning. Tonight she was just a woman in borrowed clothes. In a stranger's spare room that somehow felt more like home than anywhere she'd lived in a decade. Rebecca lay down, pulled the handmade quilt up to her chin, and slept. Rebecca woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains. For 3 heartbeats she didn't remember where she was. Then it all crashed back. Lawrence. The airport. Kenneth. Melissa. This spare room in a stranger's house that somehow felt safer than anywhere she'd lived in a decade. Her phone. Still off. Still in her purse across the room like a grenade with the pin half pulled. Downstairs, she heard voices. Melissa's high-pitched chatter. Kenneth's low rumble. The smell of coffee drifted up through the floorboards. Normal domestic. Alien, Rebecca touched her ribs gingerly. Purple had deepened to almost black overnight. Every breath reminded her that yesterday wasn't a nightmare. It happened. She'd been beaten in public, saved by a stranger, fled to Chicago. And now what? She found her way to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face, avoided looking too long at the reflection staring back. That woman with the split lip and hollow eyes didn't look like a CEO. Didn't look like someone who'd commanded boardrooms and controlled billions. She looked like someone who'd finally stopped running long enough to realize she had nowhere to go. Sarah's pajama pants were too short. The t-shirt hung loose. Rebecca finger-combed her hair and accepted that this was as good as it would get. Downstairs, Kenneth stood at the stove, making what appeared to be preparations for pancakes, already dressed in jeans and a Henley. Melissa sat at the table in her school uniform, swinging her legs while she drew in a notebook. Both looked up when Rebecca appeared. "Morning. Coffee's ready. How did you sleep?" Kenneth's voice was carefully neutral, not prying. "Just present. Better than I have in months." The truth of it surprised her. Despite everything, despite the pain and fear and uncertainty, she'd slept good. "Missy's got school in an hour, but I made extra batter if you want pancakes. I don't want to impose." "You keep saying that word." Melissa didn't look up from her drawing. "Impose. But you're not imposing. You're visiting. There's a difference." Rebecca found herself smiling despite the ache in her jaw. "You're right. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry either. Just sit down and let Daddy make you breakfast. He's really good at it. Not as good as Mom was, but still pretty good." Kenneth's ears went red, but he didn't correct her. Just poured batter onto the griddle with practiced efficiency. Rebecca sat, accepted the coffee he slid across the table. "Black. Strong. Perfect. Your brother called my landline last night. After you went to bed." Kenneth flipped a pancake without looking at her. "Stephen?" Her voice came out sharper than intended. "He said to tell you he's coming to Chicago, that he needs to see you, not to drag you back. Just to talk." "What did you tell him?" "That I'd pass along the message. What you do with it is your business." Melissa looked up. "Is he a good brother or a bad brother?" "I don't know anymore." Rebecca wrapped her hands around the coffee mug, seeking its warmth. "We used to be close. Before our father died. Before everything got complicated. People get complicated when money's involved." Kenneth set a plate of pancakes in front of her. Then Melissa, then himself, saw it in the army. Guys fighting over their buddy's life insurance after he got killed. Family turning on each other over inheritance. Money makes people forget what matters. Daddy's very wise, Melissa announced through a mouthful of pancake. "But he still can't make the toaster work right. The toaster's broken." "That's not a wisdom problem. That's a mechanical problem. You're a mechanic. Fix it. I'm a carpenter, not a you-know-what." "Never mind." Kenneth shot Rebecca a look that said this was an ongoing argument. She found herself laughing, actually laughing. The sound felt rusty, like machinery that hadn't been used in too long. Her phone, still upstairs, still off. The thought of turning it on made her stomach clench. "I need to make a decision." The words came out before she could stop them. Kenneth paused mid-bite. "About everything. The company. Lawrence. Whether to go back and fight or just walk away. What do you want to do?" "I don't know. That's the problem. For 30 years I've done what my father wanted, what the board wanted, what made financial sense. I don't know what I want." Melissa set down her fork. "When I don't know what I want, Daddy says I should make a list. Good things on one side, bad things on the other. Then count which has more. That's very logical." Rebecca's chest felt tight. "Does it work? Sometimes. Other times I just pick what makes me less scared." Out of the mouths of babes, Kenneth stood. Started clearing plates. "I need to drop Missy at school. Then I've got a job site to check on. You're welcome to stay here. There's food in the fridge, Wi-Fi passwords on the fridge. Or you can come with us, see the city. Whatever you need, I should probably." "What? Face Lawrence? Call the board? Salvage the wreckage of her life? I'll stay, if that's okay. I need to think." After they left, Melissa extracting a promise that Rebecca would still be there when she got home. The house fell silent, too silent. Rebecca found herself wandering, not snooping, just observing. The living room, with its comfortable furniture that had seen real use. Books on the shelves that had actually been read. Melissa's artwork taped to the refrigerator with the same care museums gave to Picasso's photos everywhere. Sarah was in most of them, laughing, holding baby Melissa, standing beside Kenneth in his army dress uniform, at a hospital in scrubs with pediatric nurse embroidered on the pocket. Beautiful, vibrant, dead at 32, and Kenneth had survived it, built this life, raised their daughter, found purpose in construction and community, while Rebecca had let her father's death 6 months ago nearly destroy her. Her phone pulled at her like gravity. She retrieved it, held it, the weight of unread messages and unanswered calls tangible even through the metal and glass. Deep breath. In for 4, hold for 4, Out for 4, she powered it on. The phone erupted. 73 missed calls. 56 text messages. 22 voicemails. Lawrence. The board. Stephen. Dr. Patricia Sullivan from R&D. Her executive assistant. Her lawyer. The board had met. Emergency session. Vote pending. Lawrence was on his way to Chicago. Would be here by noon. Stephen had information. Critical. Call him. Rebecca's hands shook. She dialed Stephen before she could change her mind. He answered on the first ring. Jesus, Becca. Where are you? Chicago. Safe. What's the critical information? I found something. In Dad's personal safe. A second will. Rebecca's world tilted sideways. What? He had a contingency plan. If you ever walked away from the company voluntarily, not fired, not forced out, but chose to leave, there's a trust fund. $50 million. And the Vermont house. Mom's house, the Vermont house. Their mother, Eleanor, had loved that place. Bought it the year before she got sick. Before cancer took her when Rebecca was 12 and Stephen was 15. Their father, Charles, had maintained it but never visited. Too many memories. Why wouldn't he tell me? Rebecca's voice cracked. There's a letter. Sealed for you. I haven't opened it. But Becca, this means he knew. He planned for this. Maybe even hoped for it. I don't understand. Maybe Dad wasn't the monster we thought. Maybe he was just a man who didn't know how to let his daughter choose herself until he was gone. Rebecca sank onto Kenneth's couch. The phone pressed hard against her ear. The board vote. When? Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Lawrence is pushing for full removal. Wants to install himself as CEO. But Patricia Sullivan has 3 other board members ready to oppose. It'll be close. And if I show up? If you show up and fight, you might win. Keep your position. Save the company from Lawrence. Or you don't show up. You accept the secondary will. You take the money in the house and you walk away. Let Patricia lead. She's good, Becca. Better than Lawrence. Maybe even better than you. The truth of that hurt, I need time to think. You have until tomorrow morning. But Becca, Lawrence is in Chicago. He knows where you are. Be careful. After she hung up, Rebecca sat in the silence. $50 million. The Vermont house. Her father's blessing to leave. Except it wasn't that simple. 20,000 jobs hung in the balance. Employees who'd done nothing wrong. Families who depended on Hayes Pharmaceuticals for their livelihoods. Could she really walk away? The doorbell rang. Rebecca froze. Lawrence. Already, but when she peered through the window, she saw an elderly woman on the porch. 70s probably, wearing a cardigan despite the mild morning. Holding a covered casserole dish, Rebecca opened the door cautiously. Oh, you must be Kenneth's friend. I'm Dorothy O'Brien, from next door. I heard there was some excitement yesterday. Mrs. O'Brien's eyes took in Rebecca's bruised face with the practiced assessment of someone who'd seen domestic violence before. I brought soup, chicken and rice. My grandmother's recipe. It fixes most things, that's very kind. But I'm not. You're not what? Hungry? Hurt? In need of kindness? Mrs. O'Brien stepped past Rebecca into the house without waiting for invitation. I've known Kenneth Dalton since he moved in 3 years ago. Good man. Would give you the shirt off his back. If he's helping you, you need helping. So don't waste my time pretending otherwise. Rebecca found herself following this tiny tornado into Kenneth's kitchen. I've lived on this street 40 years. Raised 5 children here. Buried a husband. Watched neighbors come and go. And I can tell you this much. When someone's running from danger, the worst thing they can do is run alone. Mrs. O'Brien set the soup on the counter. Turned to face Rebecca directly. Whatever you're running from, it followed you here. I saw a man in an expensive car drive by twice this morning. Slow, looking. That's not a friendly looking, that's a hunting looking. Fear spiked through Rebecca's chest. Lawrence, whoever he is, he's not welcome on this street. Kenneth's part of our community, which means you're under our protection now too. Whether you want it or not, I don't want to bring trouble. Trouble comes whether we want it or not. Question is whether we face it alone or together. Mrs. O'Brien patted Rebecca's hand. Now, I'm going to make some calls. By lunchtime, every person on this block will know to watch for that car. You just focus on healing and deciding what you're going to do next. After she left, Rebecca stood in Kenneth's kitchen holding a casserole dish from a stranger who'd decided to protect her, this neighborhood. These people who looked out for each other. When was the last time anyone in her world had done something without expecting return on investment? Her phone rang unknown number. She considered not answering. But something made her accept the call. Rebecca Hayes. Ms. Hayes. This is Maria Chen. I'm an attorney. Your father retained me years ago for estate planning. I already have lawyers, not like me. I specialize in the kind of planning your father did. The second will, the contingencies. Rebecca's attention sharpened. Stephen told you he found it? He did. And I need to inform you of something the written documents don't fully explain. Your father created this trust specifically to activate if you walked away. But there are conditions. Of course there were. What conditions? You must remain outside Hayes Pharmaceuticals for a minimum of 1 year. No board position, no consulting, complete separation. If you return in any capacity before 12 months, the trust dissolves. The money returns to the company. The Vermont house goes to Stephen. Rebecca's mind raced. Why? Your father believed you needed time, distance, to discover who Rebecca Hayes was without Hayes Pharmaceuticals. He told me, and I quote, "My daughter is brilliant, but she doesn't know what she wants, because I never let her want anything except what I wanted." Tears burned Rebecca's eyes. He said that 2 years before he died, when he set up the trust. He hoped you'd be brave enough to use it. After Maria hung up, Rebecca stood at Kenneth's kitchen window, watching the street, waiting for Lawrence's car to appear. 1 year, 12 months away from everything she'd built, everything she'd sacrificed for, to find out who she was without it. The decision crystallized. She called Stephen back. "Tell the board I won't be at tomorrow's meeting. I'm resigning as CEO, effective immediately. I recommend Patricia Sullivan for my replacement." "Becca, are you sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway. Lawrence will fight this. He'll claim you're incompetent. Try to get you declared unfit. Let him try. I have documentation of his assault, video evidence, and I'm about to file a police report." "What about the company? The employees? Patricia will take care of them better than I ever did. I was keeping my father's company alive. She'll make it into something that actually helps people." Silence on the line. Then Stephen's voice, thick with emotion. "Mom would be proud of you." Rebecca hung up before she could cry. She called Maria Chen back. "I accept the conditions. Full separation. 1 year minimum. I'll file the paperwork. The trust will be active within 72 hours. Next, Rebecca called the Chicago Police Department, gave them her location, asked them to send an officer to take a report of assault. Then she called her executive assistant, Jennifer. "I need you to do something for me, Miss Hayes. Where are you?" "Everyone's been. I'm resigning. But before I do, I need you to pull all financial records related to Lawrence Brennan. Every transaction, every contract, every expense report. Going back 5 years, that's a lot of data, I know. Send it to this email address." Rebecca gave her Maria Chen's contact. "And Jennifer? After you send it, start looking for a new job. Patricia Sullivan will be CEO. She'll want her own team, Ms. Hayes." "Rebecca, I don't understand." "You will. Thank you for everything." By the time Kenneth returned at noon, Rebecca had made 6 more calls, filed the police report with Officer Martinez, who'd come to the house, and started downloading 5 years of financial records onto a borrowed laptop Jennifer had messengered over. Kenneth found her at his kitchen table, surrounded by papers, laptop open, coffee mug empty beside her. "You've been busy." He set down his keys. "I'm resigning from Hayes Pharmaceuticals. Effective immediately." Kenneth pulled out a chair, sat across from her. "Big decision. My father left me a way out. Money, property, freedom. But only if I stay away for a year minimum. And you're taking it?" "I'm taking it." "What changed?" "This morning you weren't sure." Rebecca looked at this man who'd taken her in, protected her, asked for nothing in return. "Mrs. O'Brien brought soup, and told me about facing trouble together instead of alone. And I realized I've been alone my whole life, even surrounded by thousands of employees. I was alone." Kenneth's expression softened. "You're not alone now, I know. And that's what changed." The doorbell rang. They both tensed. Through the window, Rebecca saw 2 police cars, and Lawrence's town car. "He's here." Kenneth stood. "Stay behind me, Kenneth." "No. This is my fight. Then we fight it together." He opened the door. Lawrence stood on the porch, flanked by 2 men in suits who screamed corporate lawyers. Behind them, 2 police officers looked uncomfortable. "Rebecca, we need to talk." Lawrence's voice was controlled, but Rebecca saw the rage simmering underneath. "We have nothing to discuss." She stepped forward. "Beside Kenneth, not behind. I've resigned. Patricia Sullivan will be CEO. You've lost. You can't resign. Your contract requires 60 days notice." One of the lawyers stepped forward, and we have evidence you've been experiencing a mental health crisis. The board can override your resignation based on diminished capacity." Rebecca felt Kenneth tense beside her, but she placed a hand on his arm. "Officers," she addressed the police directly. "I filed a report this morning about Mr. Brennan assaulting me yesterday at O'Hare Airport. Have you had a chance to review it?" The older officer nodded. "We have, ma'am. That's actually why we're here. Mr. Brennan, we need you to come to the station to answer some questions." Lawrence's face went purple. "This is ridiculous. I'm a respected businessman." "She's clearly unstable. The airport security footage shows you striking Miss Hayes multiple times. That's assault. We need you to come with us." The lawyers immediately began objecting, threatening lawsuits, claiming harassment, but the officers were firm. Lawrence had to leave, now, or face arrest. As the town car pulled away, Lawrence in the back, lawyers on their phones. Kenneth closed the door. "Well, that went better than expected." Rebecca started laughing. Couldn't stop. The absurdity of it all. A week ago she'd been a CEO, now she was unemployed, hiding in a stranger's house, watching her former CFO get hauled in for questioning. "I've made a terrible mistake." The laughter turned to gasps, then tears. "I just threw away everything. Everything I worked for. Everything I am." Kenneth pulled her into his arms, careful of her ribs. "No. You threw away everything you thought you had to be. Now you get to figure out what you want to be," she cried into his shoulder, soaking his shirt, all the fear and grief and uncertainty of the past 6 months pouring out. When Melissa came home from school, brought by Mrs. O'Brien, who'd volunteered for pickup duty, she found Rebecca and Kenneth at the kitchen table. "Going through financial records. What are you doing?" "Homework." Kenneth glanced up. "Boring adult homework. How was school?" "Fine. We learned about fractions. They're weird. Can Miss Rebecca help me with my homework?" "If she wants to." Kenneth looked at Rebecca. "Do you know fractions?" "I have an MBA. I think I can handle third-grade math." They worked at the table together. Melissa with her math workbook, Rebecca with 5 years of Lawrence's financial transactions. Kenneth making dinner in the background. Domestic, normal, surreal. Around 6 p.m., Rebecca found it. "Kenneth," her voice was sharp enough to make him turn from the stove. "I found something." Lawrence had been embezzling. Not large amounts. Small transfers. 50,000 here, 75,000 there, spread across dozens of shell companies. Over 5 years, it added up to nearly $20 million. But that wasn't the worst part. He's been buying counterfeit medications from overseas, repackaging them with Hayes Pharmaceutical labels, selling them at full price. Kenneth came to look over her shoulder. "That's illegal, dangerous, and potentially deadly." Rebecca scrolled through shipping manifests, purchase orders, quality control reports that Lawrence had falsified. "If these drugs are substandard, people could die. Might have already died." Her hands shook. "I need to call the FDA, the FBI. Someone. Not tonight." Kenneth's hand landed gentle on her shoulder. "Tonight you eat dinner, you breathe. Tomorrow we figure out next steps. But people could have been taking these medications for months if your timeline is right. One more night won't change that." But going into this exhausted and emotional Will, he was right. Rebecca knew he was right. They ate Mrs. O'Brien's soup. Melissa chatted about fractions and her friend Emma, who could do a cartwheel. Kenneth told a story about a job site mishap involving a confused electrician and a very stubborn pipe. Normal. Except Rebecca's world was imploding. After Melissa went to bed, Kenneth and Rebecca sat on the front porch, watching the neighborhood settle into evening. "Thank you." Rebecca finally broke the silence. "For what?" "For not freaking out when I showed up with police and corporate lawyers, and enough drama to fill a soap opera." Kenneth smiled slightly. "I've had worse house guests. There was this one guy after Afghanistan who showed up drunk, brought his goat, and lived in my garage for 3 weeks. You're making that up." "I wish I was." "The goat ate my favorite boots. They sat in comfortable quiet. The kind that only comes when 2 people have survived crisis together." "What happens next?" Kenneth's question was gentle. "I turn this evidence over to authorities. I testify if needed. And then I figure out who I am when I'm not a CEO. Where will you go?" "The Vermont house? Maybe. Eventually. Right now I don't. I know I've overstayed my welcome here. I should find a hotel. Missy would riot. She's already planning to show you her fish tomorrow. Apparently Mr. Bubbles has been dying to meet you." Rebecca laughed despite everything. "I can't stay here forever." "Why not?" Well, not forever, but until you figure out next steps. The room's just sitting there. Honestly, it's nice having another adult around. Kenneth, I don't want to be Charity. You're not Charity. He paused, choosing words carefully. You're someone who needed help, and now you're someone who might need time to heal. That's not charity. That's what people do for each other. Mrs. O'Brien's words echoed. I'll pay rent, you'll contribute to groceries and help Missy with her homework. That's the deal. They shook on it. Rebecca's phone rang. Stephen, the board voted. Patricia Sullivan is the new CEO. 8-4, Lawrence? He was voted off the board entirely. Sexual harassment complaints came forward. Assault charges pending. And the board's launching an internal investigation into his finances. Rebecca closed her eyes. Good, Becca. You did the right thing. Dad would be proud. I'm proud. After she hung up, Kenneth stood. I should let you rest. Big day tomorrow. FBI, FDA. Probably a dozen other alphabet agencies, Kenneth. He paused at the door. Why are you doing this? Really? He considered the question. Sarah died because cancer doesn't care how good a person you are. Missy lost her mom for no reason except cells mutating. Life's random, cruel sometimes. But every once in a while, you get to choose. Choose to help someone. Choose to do something that matters. He smiled. You showed up needing help. I chose to help. Simple as that. The next morning came too fast. Rebecca woke to her phone vibrating. 5 a.m. She'd set 3 alarms. Today required precision. Downstairs, she found Kenneth already up. Coffee made. He handed her a mug without speaking. Couldn't sleep either. Missy had nightmares. She sometimes does when there's stress in the house. She picks up on things. Guilt twisted in Rebecca's gut. I'm sorry. I should have. Stop apologizing. She's fine. We talked about monsters. Real and imaginary. How sometimes the real ones look like regular people. Kenneth's eyes were shadowed. Tired, she wanted to know if the mean man from the airport was a real monster. I told her yes, but that her daddy and Miss Rebecca were braver. By 6 a.m., Rebecca was on a conference call with Maria Chen and 2 FBI agents, walking them through Lawrence's financial trail, the counterfeit medications, 5 years of evidence. By 7, the FDA was involved. By 8, Hayes Pharmaceuticals' general counsel was calling, threatening legal action against Rebecca for accessing confidential files. Maria Chen shut that down fast. Rebecca had been CEO when she accessed the files, and she was now a whistleblower, protected by federal law. By 9, news broke. Hayes Pharmaceuticals CEO resigns amid corruption scandal. Rebecca's phone exploded with media requests. She ignored all of them. At 10, the board meeting happened without her. Patricia Sullivan was officially installed as CEO. Lawrence Brennan was fired, escorted from the building by security. At 11, federal agents raided Lawrence's home and office. At noon, Stephen called. It's chaos here. Media everywhere. Employees panicking. But Patricia's holding steady. She's good, Becca. Really good, I know. Rebecca stood at Kenneth's kitchen window. Watching the street. Lawrence is going to blame me. For everything. Let him. He dug his own grave. You just showed people where to look. That afternoon, a messenger arrived with keys. Heavy old brass, tagged with an address in Vermont. Eleanor Hayes' house. Rebecca held them. Metal warm from the messenger's pocket. What are those? Melissa appeared beside her, still in school uniform. Keys to a house. In Vermont. It belonged to my mother. Are you leaving? The question was small, uncertain. Rebecca knelt down, ignoring the protest from her ribs. Not yet. I need to figure some things out first. But do go, you can visit. If you want? Really? Really, Vermont has mountains and lakes. And in winter you can ice skate. Melissa brightened. Daddy, Miss Rebecca says we can visit her in Vermont. Kenneth appeared from the garage. Sawdust in his hair. Does she now? His eyes met Rebecca's over Melissa's head. Questions in them. I'd like that. If it's okay, it's okay. Over the next 10 days, Rebecca met with the families. The 14 people who died from Lawrence's counterfeit medications. She reached out personally, offered to pay for funerals, medical bills, set up college funds for the children left behind. You don't have to do this. Maria Chen reviewed the paperwork. Hayes Pharmaceuticals will settle. The company's liable, not you personally. I was CEO. I should have caught it. This is on me too. The first family she met was the Johnsons. Detroit. Their mother had died of a stroke. The blood pressure medication Lawrence had substituted was mostly sugar water. 3 kids, ages 8, 10, and 14. Being raised by their grandmother now, Rebecca sat in their small living room, accepted weak tea. Listen to the grandmother talk about her daughter. Angela was a nurse. Worked doubles to keep these kids fed. Never complained. Never asked for help. Just worked herself to death trying to survive. The grandmother's hands shook, and she died because some rich man wanted to be richer. I'm sorry. The words were inadequate. Useless. I can't bring her back, but I can help. College funds for the kids. Living expenses. Whatever you need. We don't want charity. It's not charity. It's restitution. And it's not enough. It'll never be enough. But please, let me do something. The grandmother studied her for a long moment. You the CEO who quit? I am? You testified against that Brennan man? I did. Then we'll take your help. Not because we need it, but because Angela would want her kids to have chances she never got. Rebecca met with 5 more families over the next week. Each one gutted her. Each story of loss and grief and futures stolen. She set up trusts, paid off mortgages, created scholarships. It didn't bring anyone back, but it was something. Kenneth found her crying in his kitchen after the 6th meeting. You're carrying too much. He sat beside her at the table. This isn't all on you. 14 people, Kenneth. 14 families destroyed because I didn't pay attention. You're one person. Lawrence was actively hiding it. The board was complicit through ignorance. The regulatory agencies failed to catch it. You can't carry all that blame alone. Then who carries it? We all do, together. That's how it works. He pulled her into his arms, let her cry on his shoulder, stroked her hair until the sobs quieted. You're a good person, Rebecca Hayes. Flawed like everyone, but good where it counts. That night, after Melissa was asleep, they sat on the porch. October had arrived. Chicago autumn, crisp and bright. I've been thinking about Vermont. Rebecca pulled Kenneth's flannel tighter around her shoulders. He'd draped it over her when she'd started shivering. Yeah, I want to do it. Fix up the house. Maybe live there. At least for a while. That's a big move, I know. But Chicago isn't home. Boston definitely isn't. Maybe Vermont could be. Kenneth was quiet. What about the trial? That's in Chicago. I can fly back when needed. It's not that far. And after? When the trial's over and Lawrence is in prison and you've had time to process everything? I don't know. I'm trying to live right now. Not plan 5 years ahead for once. Okay, that was all. Just okay. Rebecca turned to face him. Is it? Okay? What do you want me to say, Rebecca? That I'll miss you? I will. That Missy will be heartbroken? She will be. That I've been falling for you since the airport, and the thought of you leaving makes me want to fight to keep you here. His voice roughened, because all of that's true. But you need to figure out your life. And I won't be the reason you stay if staying isn't what you need. Rebecca's breath caught. You're falling for me? Have been for weeks. Tried not to. Told myself it was too fast. Too complicated. That you were vulnerable and I was taking advantage. But yeah, I'm falling. Pretty much already fallen if I'm honest, Kenneth. You don't have to say anything. I know this is a lot. You've got a trial coming up. A whole new life to build. I'm not asking for promises. Just wanted you to know. He stood. I should check on Missy. Rebecca caught his hand. I'm falling too. I don't know what to do with it. But I am. Kenneth looked down at their joined hands. Then back at her face. So we're both falling. Apparently. That's scary. Absolutely. He pulled her up. Into his arms. Close enough that she could feel his heartbeat against her chest. Sarah wrote me a letter. Before she died. Told me I'd know when I was ready to move on. That my heart would tell me. His hand came up to cup Rebecca's face. I think my heart's been yelling for weeks, and I've been ignoring it. What's it saying now? That I want to kiss you. Have wanted to since you helped Missy's with her fractions. And laughed at my terrible dad jokes and cried over families you'd never met because you felt responsible for their pain. Rebecca's hands found his chest, fisted in his shirt. Then kiss me, he did. Slow at first, testing. Gentle with her healing lip, then deeper, urgent. Weeks of tension breaking like a dam. Rebecca gasped into his mouth. Kenneth's arms tightened around her waist, lifting her onto her toes. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. That was, yeah, we should probably talk about it. Eventually. Kenneth rested his forehead against hers. I have a 6-year-old daughter. A construction business. A life here. I know, and you have Vermont. A trial. $50 million and the freedom to go anywhere. I know that too. This is complicated. Everything about us is complicated. Kenneth laughed. Soft. Warm, yeah. But maybe that's okay. They kissed again. Slower this time. Learning each other. Until Melissa's voice floated down from upstairs. Daddy? I had a bad dream, Kenneth pulled back. Reluctant, To be continued? Definitely continued. He went upstairs. Rebecca stayed on the porch, touching her lips, feeling the ghost of his kiss, falling, already fallen. Uncertain what came next, but maybe okay with being uncertain if it meant feeling this alive. Rebecca woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains. For 3 heartbeats, she didn't remember where she was. Then it all crashed back. Kenneth. The kiss. The admission. The terrifying reality that she was falling for a man she'd known 4 weeks. 4 weeks had passed since the airport, 4 weeks of living in this spare room. Of pancake breakfasts and fraction homework, and learning what normal felt like. 4 weeks of not touching, not kissing, not crossing the line. Until last night, when they'd crossed it spectacularly. The downstairs, she heard voices. Melissa's high-pitched chatter. Kenneth's low rumble. The smell of coffee drifted up through the floorboards. Normal. Domestic. Except now everything felt different. Rebecca touched her lips. Still feeling the ghost of his kiss, she found her way to the bathroom. Splashed cold water on her face. The bruises had faded to yellow-green. Her lip had healed. She looked almost human again. Almost like someone who deserved what was happening. Downstairs, Kenneth stood at the stove, making what appeared to be preparations for pancakes, already dressed in jeans and a flannel. Melissa sat at the table in her school uniform, swinging her legs while she drew in a notebook. Both looked up when Rebecca appeared. Kenneth's eyes met hers. Held. Something electric passed between them. Morning. Coffee's ready. His voice was carefully neutral, but his eyes said everything. Morning. Rebecca poured herself coffee. Sat at the table. Melissa looked up from her drawing. Are you guys being weird? She pointed her crayon between them. You're doing the thing grown-ups do when they like each other but pretend they don't. Kenneth choked on his coffee. We're not what thing? The looking thing. And the smiling thing. And the being too careful not to touch thing. Melissa rolled her eyes with the world wariness of a seen-it-all 6-year-old. Emma's mom has a boyfriend. They do it all the time. Rebecca bit back a laugh. We're not being weird. We're being normal. Normal weird. That's fair. After Kenneth dropped Melissa at school, he came back to find Rebecca packing. You leaving? His voice was carefully neutral. But she heard the tension underneath. Just organizing. I should probably get my own place. I've been imposing long enough. You're not imposing. And after last night, I thought, last night was wonderful. But it doesn't change reality. You have a daughter. A business. I can't keep living in your spare room like some kind of permanent houseguest. Kenneth sat on the bed. Where would you go? I don't know. Hotel maybe. Or I could head to Vermont early. Get started on the house? Alone? I've been alone most of my life. I'm good at it. Being good at something doesn't mean you should keep doing it. Kenneth pulled her down beside him. Stay. At least until after the trial. Missy would be devastated if you left now. And I'd miss you. A lot, Kenneth. I'm not asking for forever. Just asking you not to run because things got real last night. Rebecca looked at their joined hands. I don't know how to do this. The relationship thing. I've had exactly 2 boyfriends. Both ended badly. And I've never lived with anyone except college roommates, and that was a disaster, so we figure it out together. Make mistakes. Communicate. Try not to screw it up too badly. That's your big plan? That's all anyone's plan. The rest is just pretending to have it together. Despite herself, Rebecca smiled. Okay, I'll stay. But I'm contributing more to groceries. And fixing that toaster. Deal. They shook on it. Then kissed to seal it. Which turned into more kissing. Until Rebecca pulled back. Melissa gets home in 6 hours. I'm aware. We should probably not be making out on the bed when she gets home. Also aware. But neither of them moved apart. The weeks blurred together after that. Kenneth started working on the Vermont house. Driving up weekends. Taking Melissa. Sometimes Rebecca joined them. Sometimes she stayed behind for meetings with lawyers. The trial date loomed. January 15th, growing closer. Lawrence remained in jail. Denied bail a second time after threatening a witness. Rebecca testified at the preliminary hearing. Walked through the evidence. The counterfeit medications. The deaths. Lawrence's lawyer tried to paint her as a vindictive ex-employee. The prosecutor shut that down fast. One Saturday in late October, they made the drive together. All 3 of them. Kenneth's truck rumbled north through Connecticut, through Massachusetts, into the green mountains that rose like ancient guardians protecting secrets. Melissa sat between them, pointing at every cow, every red barn, every lake that flashed silver through the trees. Look, horses! Can we get a horse? We're not moving to Vermont, sweet pea. We're visiting. Kenneth's eyes found Rebecca's over Melissa's head. Question there. Possibility. Rebecca looked away first. The Vermont house sat at the end of a dirt road, 2 miles from the nearest neighbor, surrounded by 40 acres of forest and field, and one small pond that probably froze solid come winter. Victorian farmhouse, pale yellow with white trim, wraparound porch, gingerbread details under the eaves, exactly as Rebecca remembered from childhood summers before her mother got sick. It's a palace. Melissa pressed her face to the truck window. Can I explore? Please, I'll be careful. Kenneth looked at Rebecca. It's safe? No wells or anything? The pond's fenced. Everything else should be fine. Melissa bolted from the truck the moment Kenneth opened the door, racing toward the house like she'd been shot from a cannon. Rebecca and Kenneth followed slower. The porch steps creaked under their weight. Original wood. Over 100 years old. The front door stuck until Kenneth put his shoulder into it. Inside smelled like dust and time and memories. The furniture was covered in white sheets, ghost shapes in the afternoon light filtering through dirty windows. But underneath, Rebecca could see her mother's taste. Comfortable chairs, bookshelves lining every wall, a fireplace big enough to stand in. It's beautiful. Kenneth pulled back a sheet, revealing a deep blue velvet sofa. Your mom had good taste. She wanted this to be our escape. From Boston, from corporate life. She'd bring Stephen and me here every summer. Dad would visit on weekends, but mostly it was just us. Rebecca touched the mantle. Dust came away on her fingers. She died the October after we bought it. Never got to see a full year, I'm sorry. Me too. They walked through the house together. Kenneth making notes. Roof needs replacing. Windows need resealing. Furnace is ancient. Plumbing's questionable. Electric's up to code, but barely. It's a lot of work. But the bones are solid. He knocked on a support beam. Solid thunk. Give me 3 months and a crew. I could make it livable. 6 months, I could make it beautiful. How much? Kenneth did mental math. Materials and labor? Probably 120,000. Maybe more depending on what we find when we open walls. Rebecca had 50 million in the bank. 120,000 was nothing. When could you start? You serious? I'm serious. Kenneth set down his notepad. Rebecca, this is a huge commitment. You've only been away from Hayes Pharmaceuticals 4 weeks. Maybe you should wait. Make sure this is what you want. I've never been more sure of anything. The lie tasted bitter, because she wasn't sure. About the house, about Vermont, about what staying here would mean. But she was sure she didn't want to go back to Chicago alone. Melissa's scream cut through the moment. Both adults ran. They found her in the backyard, standing at the edge of the pond, pointing. Ducks. Look, baby ducks. A mother mallard and 5 ducklings paddled in tight formation. Melissa vibrated with suppressed excitement. Can we feed them? Do we have bread? We don't feed wild ducks, Missy. They're not pets, but they're so cute. Kenneth lifted her onto his shoulders so she could see better. Rebecca watched them together. Father and daughter. Easy affection. Uncomplicated love. What would it be like to be part of that? They spent the night at a bed and breakfast in town. 2 rooms, Kenneth and Melissa in one. Rebecca in the other. Professional. Appropriate. Safe. Rebecca lay awake listening to the old building settle, wondering why Safe felt so much like lonely. The next morning, Kenneth met with contractors, getting estimates for materials, timeline, labor costs. Rebecca walked the property with Melissa. This could be your room. She showed Melissa the small bedroom under the eaves, slanted ceiling, window seat overlooking the pond. Really? I could stay here sometimes? If your dad says yes. And if you want to. Melissa threw her arms around Rebecca's waist. I want to. Can we paint it purple? And get a telescope? Daddy says Vermont has good stars. We can do whatever you want. The hug tightened. Rebecca found herself blinking back tears. When had this child become so important? That afternoon, they drove back to Chicago. Melissa asleep between them within an hour. Kenneth kept his eyes on the road, but his hand rested on the seat between them. Close enough to touch if Rebecca reached over. No. She didn't reach. Thank you for coming. Her voice was quiet. Not wanting to wake Melissa, of course. You needed someone to look at the place. I needed you specifically. Kenneth glanced at her. Quick, then back to the road. Yeah? Yeah. The word hung between them, loaded with everything they weren't saying. Rebecca, what are we doing here? Driving back to Chicago? You know what I mean, she did. Of course she did, I don't know. I've never done this before. Done what? This. Whatever this is. I don't have a framework. Or a precedent. Or a, you're overthinking it. I'm good at overthinking. Kenneth smiled despite himself. Yeah, I noticed. They drove in silence for a while. Massachusetts blurring into Connecticut. Sarah's been gone 3 years. Kenneth's voice was careful. I thought I was done. With feeling things, with wanting things. Missy was enough. Work was enough. Then you showed up bleeding on an airport floor, and everything got complicated. Rebecca's heart hammered. Complicated how? Complicated like I can't stop thinking about you. Like I wake up, and my first thought is whether you're still in the spare room. Or if you left in the night. Like Missy asks every morning if Miss Rebecca is staying, and I don't know what to tell her, because I don't know what you want. I don't know what I want either. The honesty felt like surrender. I've spent 30 years being what other people wanted. My father's daughter, the board's CEO, the ice queen of pharmaceuticals. I don't know how to be just Rebecca, and I definitely don't know how to be Rebecca who deserves someone like you. Someone like me? Good, kind, whole. You've built this life with Melissa. This community, this purpose. I'm still trying to survive being me. Kenneth was quiet for a long time. You want to know what I see when I look at you? I'm not sure. I see someone who walked away from $1 billion because it was the right thing to do. Someone who spent 2 weeks building a case against a man who tried to destroy her. Someone who helps a 6-year-old with fractions, even though she could hire a dozen tutors. He paused. You're not just surviving, Rebecca. You're learning to live. And that's the bravest thing I've ever seen. The tears came fast. Silent. Rebecca turned her face to the window so he wouldn't see. But Kenneth's hand found hers in the space between them. Squeezed once. Held on. They drove like that all the way back to Chicago. Melissa sleeping. Kenneth and Rebecca connected by intertwined fingers. Not saying the words. Not needing to. Thanksgiving came. Rebecca had nowhere to go. No family except Stephen, who was spending the holiday with his girlfriend's family in California. You'll eat with us. Mrs. O'Brien declared it rather than asked. I'm hosting. Kenneth and Missy are coming. Half the street's coming. You're coming. So Rebecca found herself in Mrs. O'Brien's crowded dining room, surrounded by neighbors she'd known less than 2 months. Eating turkey and stuffing and green bean casserole, Melissa sat beside her, chattering about the Christmas pageant at school. Kenneth sat across, catching her eye. Smiling this was family, not blood, not obligation, choice. After dinner, Kenneth walked Rebecca back to his house. Thank you for staying. Thank you for making me feel like I belong. You do belong. Here, with us, he kissed her on the porch, under these stars. While Mrs. O'Brien definitely watched from her kitchen window. Let her watch. Rebecca was done hiding. December arrived with the first snow. Melissa shrieked with joy. Dragged Rebecca outside to build a snowman. They gave him a carrot nose. Button eyes. One of Kenneth's old scarves. He needs a name. Melissa studied their creation seriously. How about Frederick? Frederick the Snowman. They stood back. Admiring their work, Miss Rebecca? Yeah, sweetie. Are you going to be my new mom? The question hit like a truck. That's your dad and I are. Because if you are, that's okay. I mean, I miss mommy. I'll always miss her. But daddy says love doesn't run out. You can love lots of people. Melissa looked up with those big brown eyes. And I love you. So if you wanted to stay forever, I'd be okay with it. Rebecca knelt in the snow, not caring that it soaked through her jeans. I love you too, Missy. So much. But I'm not trying to replace your mom. She was special. Irreplaceable, I know. But you're special too. Different special, thank you. That means everything. They hugged in the snow. Frederick the Snowman watching over them. That night, Rebecca told Kenneth about the conversation. I didn't know what to say. She asked if I was going to be her mom and I froze. Kenneth pulled her close on the couch. What do you want to be? I don't know. I've never thought about being a mother. Never seemed like something in the cards for me. And now? Now my stomach knots every time I think about it. Because I love her. I love you. And I have no idea if I'm capable of being what you both need. You're already what we need. You just don't see it yet. Christmas came fast. Rebecca had never decorated a tree before. Not really. Her father had hired services to do the penthouse. Professional, sterile. This was different. Kenneth dragged a 7-foot Fraser fir into the living room. Melissa danced around it. Rebecca untangled lights while Kenneth assembled the stand. This is crooked. It's not crooked. You're looking at it wrong. I'm looking at it straight on. It's leaning left. It's character. They bickered good-naturedly while Melissa hung ornaments. Some beautiful, some clearly handmade by a much younger Melissa. Kenneth treasured them all equally. This one mom made the year she got sick. Melissa held up a painted wooden star. She said even when she went to heaven, she'd be our star. Watching over us, Kenneth's hand found Rebecca's. Squeezed, she'd like you. Sarah. She'd like that Missy has someone who cares, you think? I know, Christmas morning. Melissa woke them at 5 a.m. Santa came. He came. Get up. Rebecca stumbled downstairs in Kenneth's borrowed pajamas. Hair a mess. No coffee yet. But Melissa's joy was infectious. She tore through presents. Art supplies from Kenneth. Books from Mrs. O'Brien. And from Rebecca, a telescope for stargazing in Vermont. This is the best present ever. We can see all the constellations. Daddy, can we go to Vermont this weekend? Please? We'll see, sweet pea. Weather depending. Melissa threw herself at Rebecca. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, baby. The words slipped out. Baby, Kenneth heard it. Smiled over Melissa's head. Later, after Melissa was occupied with her new art supplies, Kenneth handed Rebecca a small box. For you, inside was a key. Brass, old, it's to the Vermont house, your house. But I had a copy made, so I can let myself into work, or visit, or whatever. He looked nervous. It's symbolic, I guess. You're giving me a life in Vermont. I'm giving you access to keep me in it. Rebecca kissed him. I love it. I love you. The words were out before she could stop them. Kenneth froze. You? What? I love you. My heart races every time I think about it. But I love you. I love Melissa. I love this life we're building, Rebecca. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. I love you too. He cupped her face. Have for weeks. Maybe since the airport. Definitely since you cried over the Johnson family and set up their kids' college funds without being asked. They kissed surrounded by wrapping paper and Christmas morning chaos. Melissa looked up from her drawing. Are you guys being gross again? Probably. Okay, just checking. The week between Christmas and New Year's passed in a blur. Rebecca finalized trust funds for the 14 families. Met with the prosecution one last time before trial. Prepared her testimony and spent every spare moment with Kenneth and Melissa. New Year's Eve, Mrs. O'Brien hosted another party. The neighborhood gathered. Counting down to midnight, Kenneth pulled Rebecca aside at 11:30. Come with me. He led her to the roof, accessed through an attic window. Chicago sprawled below them, lights glittering. Fireworks already starting in the distance. I wanted to ask you something. Before the new year, Kenneth took her hands. The Vermont house will be done by March. Maybe sooner if weather cooperates. I know you plan to move there. Make it your fresh start. I did. What if it was our fresh start? Mine and Missy's too? Rebecca's heart stopped. What are you saying? I'm saying I could move my business. Vermont needs builders. Missy could transfer schools. We could be a family. If you wanted, Kenneth, that's huge. You'd be giving up everything here, not everything. Just location. The people I care about. Most of them are standing on this roof. He gestured to where Melissa was visible through the window below. Dancing with Mrs. O'Brien, I'm saying I choose you. Choose us. If you'll have us. Rebecca's eyes burned with tears. Yes. God, yes. I choose you too. They kissed as midnight struck. Fireworks exploding overhead, the neighborhood cheering below. And Rebecca felt something she hadn't felt in 30 years. Home, not a place. A person. A family home. The trial started January 15th. Rebecca took the stand on day 3. Walked through the evidence. The counterfeit medications. Laurent embezzlement. The 14 deaths. Lawrence's lawyer attacked. Ms. Hayes. Isn't it true you resigned because you were mentally unstable? No. You threw away $1 billion company on a whim. I walked away from a corrupt system. You're bitter. Vindictive. Trying to destroy Mr. Brennan because he called out your incompetence. I'm trying to get justice for 14 people who died because he cared more about profit than human lives. The lawyer pressed, but Rebecca held firm. She'd survived board meetings with men who thought she didn't belong. Hostile takeovers, media attacks. One corporate lawyer didn't scare her. After 4 hours, the judge called recess. Rebecca stumbled out of the courtroom. Kenneth was waiting. You did great. I feel like I got hit by a truck. That's cross-examination. Come on, let's get food. They ate sandwiches in a park, across from the courthouse. One more day of testimony tomorrow. Then you're done. Then what? Then we wait for the verdict. and plan our move to Vermont, our move. 2 words that made everything real. Are you scared? Rebecca picked at her sandwich. Of moving? Of all of it, every day. But the good kind of scared. The kind that means you're doing something that matters. Kenneth kissed her temple. We'll figure it out. Together, the verdict came 3 weeks later. Guilty on all counts. Lawrence Brennan sentenced to 25 years. No parole eligibility for 15. Rebecca sat in the courtroom when they read it, felt nothing but exhaustion. Outside, reporters swarmed. Ms. Hayes, how do you feel about the verdict? Justice was served. What's next for you? I'm going home. She pushed through to where Kenneth and Melissa waited. Home? Kenneth's smile was soft. Yeah, Vermont with you. 2 weeks later, Vermont, the house stood ready. Kenneth's crew had transformed it. New roof, refinished floors, fresh paint, modern kitchen. But still Eleanor's house, still Rebecca's childhood, just updated, ready for new memories. Melissa raced through, claiming her purple bedroom under the eaves. Kenneth carried boxes while Rebecca directed. Mrs. O'Brien had sent soup. Because of course she had. That night, they sat on the porch, all 3 of them, watching stars appear over the mountains. Is this real? Rebecca leaned against Kenneth's shoulder. Feels like I'm going to wake up and still be in that boardroom. Still be who I was. You were never just that. You were always this person waiting to thaw. Melissa climbed into Rebecca's lap. I like it here. It's quiet. Good quiet. Yeah, it is. Rebecca kissed the top of her head. 1 year ago, she'd been CEO of a billion-dollar company. Miserable. Alone. Dying inside. Now she was unemployed. Living in Vermont. Co-parenting a 6-year-old. Uncertain. Happy. Alive. Funny how falling apart could feel like coming together. What do we do tomorrow? Kenneth's question was easy. Whatever we want. Can we make pancakes? Melissa's request was simple. We can make pancakes and go ice skating on the pond, if it's frozen enough, and be a family? The question was quiet. Hopeful. Rebecca and Kenneth looked at each other over Melissa's head. Yeah, sweet pea. We can be a family. Later, after Melissa was asleep, Kenneth and Rebecca stood in their bedroom. Their bedroom, not the spare room, not temporary. Home, thank you for taking a chance on me. Rebecca's voice was soft. Thank you for letting me. Kenneth pulled her close. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I know I want to face it with you. That's all we need. Tomorrow, and each other, they kissed in the darkness. Outside, snow began to fall, covering the world in white, making everything new. And Rebecca thought about the woman she'd been a year ago. Powerful, successful, empty. She wouldn't trade this for anything. Not the billions, not the prestige, not the corner office with its view of Boston. Because real wealth wasn't money. It was this: loaf, family, purpose. It was choosing yourself, then choosing to let others in. It was falling, and trusting someone would catch you. It was knowing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what's killing you toward what might save you. Rebecca Hayes had spent 30 years being what everyone else needed. Now she was finally becoming who she needed to be. Not a CEO, not an ice queen, not her father's daughter, just Rebecca loved, whole, free. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.